everyone. Welcome to Crime in Court. This is another episode of the Canton cover up series, Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, and we are on episode 118, Better Call Bederow and More Exhibits. So, Bederow is obviously Mark Bederow. He is YouTube famous for his commentary on the Karen Reed case, and he was added to the Aiden Turtleboy Carney defense team a little while ago, and now they are asking to admit him as pro hoc vice for Karen Reed's defense. So we knew this was coming. We knew there was an original affidavit or motion or whatever, and it was not enough. Judge Cannoni, well, first of all, Hank was like, "I don't have an objection, Your Honor, but here's all the reasons why you shouldn't allow it. But anyways, but I'm not objecting or opposing pro hoc vice status of Mark Bederow, but here's a bajillion reasons why you shouldn't allow it." And then Judge Cannoni kind of changed her tune in the hearing, and she's like, "I need a supplemental affidavit." So she wanted more information about his role, who he is, I guess. So that is what they have just provided, and we are going to read through that. And then we are also going to read through a recent defense motion, which is a supplemental listing of basically, they've added some supplemental exhibits to the motion to dismiss, which they just argued earlier this week. After some of those arguments, they probably were like, Judge Cannoni might need a reminder of some things, so we're going to add some exhibits. And that's, I believe, what they did. So we'll read that also. These are both pretty short, they're brief. So let's get started. Please hit the like button and let's begin. All right, so the first one is the supplemental motion for admission pro hoc vice of Mark A. Bederow. Pro hoc vice, in case you don't know, is basically like somebody like vouching for another attorney. So Bederow practices out of New York. We are obviously in Massachusetts. So David Yannetti, who does practice in Massachusetts, can say, "Hey, this guy I vouch for, he's a professional attorney, and I'll chaperone him, or I'll give him the lay of the land, kind of thing." So David R. Yannetti of the Yannetti Criminal Defense Law Firm and a member in good standing of the Massachusetts Bar hereby moves to admit pro hoc vice Mark A. Bederow so that he may associate in as counsel of record for the defendant in the above captioned matter on the following grounds. 1. At this court's directive, this affirmation is intended to supplement my pending motion for admission pro hoc vice of Mark A. Bederow so that Mr. Bederow may represent Karen Reed at her upcoming trial before this court. I incorporate by reference all the contents of my previous affirmation in support of that motion. 2. The source of the information contained herein describing Mr. Bederow's qualifications and backgrounds comes from my conversations with him and information he has provided to me. If the court requires any additional information not contained in this affirmation, Mr. Bederow is available to speak to the court ex parte about any issues relevant to this motion. So if you have any questions, Judge, feel free to contact him. Number 3, Mr. Bederow has been a member in good standing of the New York State Bar since 1999. He is also admitted to practice in the state of New Jersey, the Southern District of New York, and the Eastern District of New York. So he's kind of a big deal. That's what I'm going to say. He's kind of a big deal. New Jersey, Southern District of New York, and the Eastern District of New York. He is presently admitted pro hoc vice in Massachusetts on 3 criminal matters, 2 of which are pending in the Norfolk Superior Court. So he's already admitted in Massachusetts as an attorney. So for her to deny this would be really bizarre and would violate Ms. Reed's constitutional right to have attorneys of her choice. And if she's paying for them or they're going to represent her pro bono, then that's none of the judge's business. Who, she has no right to say, well, they can't. So, I mean, unless, well, she does because he doesn't normally practice in Massachusetts, but it would be quite something, and it would definitely be like interlocutory, appealable, I would think, or, taking it before you finish your the um I can't think of words. Before you finish before there's a conviction, if there's something that is so egregious, you can do like an interlocutory appeal or some kind of there are avenues that you can go to the SJC to appeal something if it is so egregious that she's so prejudiced that you can't proceed without, someone interjecting or someone looking over the case. Um, For the other matter is pending in Dedham District Court. So two in Norfolk, one in Dedham, and Mr. Bederow was admitted pro hac vice in the District of Connecticut as well, in connection with a complex federal criminal matter. In more than 26 years of practice, Mr. Bederow has never been sanctioned or disciplined by any court in any jurisdiction in which he was admitted to practice. So we also know he's admitted in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and two separate districts of New Jersey. So again, I say he's kind of a big deal. He's never been sanctioned, and he's got more than 26 years of experience. All right, number 4. Good cause exists to grant this motion because Mr. Bederow has specialized skill and knowledge in representing criminal defendants in matters of this nature. Since 1998, Mr. Bederow has been engaged in the practice of criminal law. From 1998 to 2004, he served as an assistant district attorney in the New York County, Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, again, big deal. He is a big deal. Which is one of the largest and most prestigious prosecutor's offices in the United States. From 2004 to 2008, he practiced criminal law at a large national firm. Since 2008, he has had his own criminal defense firm in Manhattan. During his career, Mr. Bederow has been involved in many complex homicide cases and other serious cases, including some with issues similar to those in Ms. Reed's case. Ms. Reed values Mr. Bederow's experience and legal skills and desires that he be allowed to represent her at trial. This is a very important sentence, I believe, in this affirmation because, again, he is reminding Judge Cannoni this is a constitutional matter to have an attorney of her choice. Without that, I mean, if she just denies this and says, no, you can't have him, like I said, I think that is appealable, like right away. As the court is aware, Mr. Bederow presently represents Aidan Carney on 3 criminal cases in Massachusetts. One of those cases involves several witnesses who are scheduled to testify against Ms. Reed. Prior to the filing of the instant motion, Mr. Bederow conducted separate and extensive discussions with both Ms. Reed and Mr. Carney. He defined and explained actual and possible conflicts of interest and the concept of waivable conflicts. He explained to Ms. Reed, so Bederow did all this explaining. He explained to Ms. Reed and Mr. Carney the possible conflicts that could arise in his representation of both in separate matters that involved some of the same witnesses. He answered any questions either client asked. He reviewed Rules 1.7 and 1.8 of the Massachusetts Rules of Professional Conduct with Ms. Reed and Mr. Carney, and then presented both with copies of those rules. Mr. Bederow instructed both clients to speak separately with other existing counsel about these issues. Both clients discussed these issues with their own counsel outside of Mr. Bederow's presence. So they've done all of the due diligence necessary. Number 7, after both clients expressed an interest in his representation after they consulted with their own counsel, Mr. Bederow prepared a detailed written explanation of possible conflicts of interests and what could happen in the event of an actual conflict of interest. Both clients, with the advice of their own counsel, A, acknowledged that they understood these issues, B, confirmed that they want Mr. Bederow to represent them, and C, executed written waivers to any possible conflicts of interest related to Mr. Bederow's representation of Ms. Reed and Mr. Carney. So it's cool with both our clients, or both his client, both Ms. Reed and his other client, Aiden. They're good with it. They've waived any conflict of interest. They understand, they acknowledge, they both want him. They both have a kind of the same vested interest, which is exposing the corruption and trying to save their lives from the corruption. So the only way to do that is to expose it. So they kind of have like a similar goal at the end of this, if you ask me. All right, number 8. Both Mr. Bederow and I unequivocally confirm that there is and never has been a joint defense privilege between Ms. Reed and Mr. Carney. Mr. Bederow has not shared any protected material provided to him as part of his representation of Mr. Carney, which is a such an offensive thing for Hank Brennan to have accused him of in court, in open court, in front of Judge Cannoni, when he has no proof. And Mr. Bederow, 26 years of experience, highly, highly decorated. He's a decorated dude. And he, I would say, is, I would say that's very extremely offensive to say that he is like sharing information with Karen Reed, even though like he's not even part of her team yet. And he's a professional. Like, this is not what professionals do. Hank Brennan might do that because he's very unprofessional and unethical, but Mr. Bederow is not like that. Anyways, Mr. Bederow has not shared any protected material provided to him as part of his representation of Mr. Carney with Ms. Reed, her counsel, or anyone else. Mr. Bederow has never engaged in any conduct during his representation of Mr. Carney or anyone else, for that matter, for the purpose of harassing or intimidating witnesses. Like, it needs to be effing said. Like, we need to effing spell this out for you, Judge Cannoni. Like, how corrupt are you that you need to make sure that this is in writing? Yeah. Mr. Bederow will not share any protected material provided to him on Ms. Reed's case with Mr. Carney or vice versa. I mean, it's good that they have the opportunity to hear Hank's non non-opposition to Mr. Bederow coming on board, even though it was definitely an opposition, because they're able to address it now in their supplemental affidavit here, because these were some of the things that Mr. Brennan outright accused him of sharing information and whatnot. So that's spelled out now for them in an affidavit by Mr. Bederow, or by Mr. Yannetti. Number 9, Mr. Bederow has no role in the preparation of a recent motion filed with this court which led the Commonwealth to seek sanctions over an alleged violation of a protective order due to the inclusion of a text message sent by Michael Proctor. So they're trying to make it clear that he's not involved yet. Like, he's not there. You can't get him, you can't throw him off or not give him pro hug vitae because you think that he had something to do with some kind of violation. Mr. Bederow was not provided any protected material by Ms. Reed, her counsel, or anyone else in connection with that motion. Shortly after the motion was filed, Mr. Carney's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the indictments against him. The motion included references to some text messages and electronic communications that were subject to a protective order in that case. The publicly filed version of the motion, which is available for this court's review, includes redactions of any messages that are subject to the protective order in Mr. Carney's case. In one footnote, there is reference to a series of many inappropriate statements made by Michael Proctor, all of which were in the public record before Mr. Carney's motion was filed. So his statements, things that Michael Proctor said, we all know he's a jerk. He's a creep. He says really stupid things on text chains with superiors and things like that. But obviously, it doesn't matter because the superiors never did anything about it. But yeah, he says lots of inappropriate things, we know. So, what really does it matter, even if they did put out a protected statement by Michael Proctor in a motion? But yeah, they just want to make sure that Judge Cannone doesn't associate him with that because they don't want him to get revoked or whatever. All right, so on February 18th, 2025, the Commonwealth stated that it did not object. It did not object to Mr. Bederow's admission pro hoc vice or to the defense providing additional information to the court ex parte where the court decided, before the court decided the motion. So if you need more information on Mr. Bederow, let us know. We can provide it to you. All right, so wherefore, for good cause shown, David R. Yannetti respectfully requests that this motion for admission pro hoc vice of Mark A. Bederow be granted. What do you guys think she is going to do? I have a feeling she's probably going to allow it, but she might have some strongly worded opinion about why she's, why she has some reservations about it because she just has to throw her bias and bitchiness in it. All right, the next one. So we are going to read through the supplemental exhibits in support of defendant Karen Reed's motion to dismiss for extraordinary governmental misconduct. Now, this one's short. It's only about 2 pages. So now comes the defendant, Karen Reed, and files the following supplemental exhibits in support of defendant Karen Reed's motion to dismiss for extraordinary governmental misconduct. Exhibit 1, corrected version of the inverted interior Sallyport garage video. This is accurately reflecting the rear taillight. So we're reminding you, Judge Cannone, that Michael Proctor was at the rear taillight, which is the one in question, the right one. Counsel specifically directs the court's attention to the minute 115 to 149, or I don't know if that's hour or minute, during which time Trooper Proctor approaches and has unfettered access to the right rear taillight of Ms. Reed's vehicle. So if you recall, in the hearing, Judge Cannone this week on the motion to dismiss, Judge Cannone said that he didn't touch. There's no video of him touching the taillight, and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" Because if you reverse the interior Sallyport video, that's all that you're going to notice is that Michael Proctor is at that right rear taillight the whole time. You can't see what he's doing, but you know he's right there. Like it's obvious he's there. There's no denying it. Surveillance footage also shows an unidentified individual apparate, so somebody just appears, and then disappear from the frame near the right rear taillight. So again, they have just people appearing in and out of thin air. It's very, very bizarre. Oh man, all my stuff is falling here. So yeah, he just appears. Some unidentified person, probably Yuri, appears unidentified, just out of nowhere. Exhibit 2, photograph of the condition of the right rear taillight of Ms. Reed's SUV in the Canton Sallyport garage on February 1st, 2022, after. So this is after the time, and this is, the day after, where or 2 days after, where Trooper Proctor had already been back there, and others of the Canton Police Department had access to the vehicle. Taillight appears fully damaged, not cracked, and there's like big old gashes and stuff in um the body of the car too. When they finally take a photo of it, if you notice, they don't take any photos of it up until after that time. After it's already been, the taillight housing has already been removed and things like that. Exhibit 3. Photograph of reconstruction of taillight with pieces of plastic covered from 34 Fairview Road. Even after the full reconstruction of the taillight, it appears cracked and missing a piece consistent with Sergeant Barrow's testimony regarding his observations of the right rear taillight of the Lexus SUV at Ms. Reed's parents' house in Dighton on January 29th, 2022, before it was seized by law enforcement. Certain pieces of plastic missing from the taillight were never located or recovered from 34 Fairview Road. So that's important to note. So there were, what, 47 pieces, because if you look, the next exhibit 4, is photographs of the 47 pieces of plastic taillight. If you recall from the hearing, Judge Canoni was like, What are you talking about, 47 pieces? I don't know what you're talking about." And Ms. Little is like, there were 47 pieces of taillight found and reconstructed. Like, what are you talking about, Judge? Were you here at the last trial? So this shows all the different pieces, gives some descriptions and item numbers and whatnot. So that I wanted to piggyback back onto Exhibit 3. So these 47 pieces that were found were reconstructed. They form the shape of her tail light, but there's still a tiny little piece that they never found. It's still missing, and that, my friends, is what they're talking about, is the cracked, not the not completely shattered and missing pieces and whatnot. So this is consistent with Sergeant Barrows saying that it appears cracked and missing a tiny piece, which was consistent there, and it matches, what was actually found, a missing piece. So that could be the missing piece that Sergeant Barrows is talking about in that 47-piece reconstruction. All right. Exhibit 5, screenshots establishing that the Commonwealth, which purports to show that the interior Sally Port back wall camera was also inverted on 1/1/2022, and which was played at the discretion of Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan in court yesterday, March 5th, 2025, has a different color Chiron, is that how you say that? I have no idea. Chiron, I'm going to call it. Then the 1/29/2022 inverted video in the defense on April 4th from the same camera. So the video, let me explain. The video that they received during trial, mid-trial, the reversed, inverted, whatever you want to call it, the inverted video, had a blue Chiron on the bottom, and remember that was like reverse too, like it was backwards. I don't remember, but it had to be, no, it was the right way, I think. But anyways, so that was blue. And Trooper Proctor actually testified that the video that he watched, it wasn't inverted and the Chiron was yellow. In this case, Hank Brennan played this January 1st video from earlier that month to show, like, this is a comparison from the January 29th video, and we're showing you it's messed up too. It's grainy and messed up, although not so much, and there weren't people apparating in and out of the video in the video that they showed us here on the March 5th hearing. But it did have a yellow Chiron. And I think it was might have been in like the wrong place too. There was one video that he showed where it was at the bottom and then at trial it was at the top or vice versa. I can't remember. But literally like different locations and different color Chirons or however you call it. I don't know. Let me double check because now I'm calling it that and I want to be sure that I'm calling or pronouncing it correctly. Okay, I was wrong. It's Chiron. It's like with a K, you like sounding like a K. Chiron, like a hard C or a K. So it's a Chiron, not a Chiron, but you get the point. So the Chiron is a different color, and they pointed it out. They noticed it. Like, look, Hank Brennan is also potentially committing some kind of fraud against the court, perhaps. Hmm? Maybe that should be added to their affidavit or their motion to dismiss if they could add a supplemental addendum or something. All right, so this discrepancy suggests manipulation for sure and further underscores the prejudice to Ms. Reed in or by the Commonwealth destruction of the original files and the metadata associated with the download of the video surveillance. So they don't have the original files and they also have been manipulated. There's no metadata. We can't prove that these aren't or are manipulated. They do that on purpose. That's why you don't have the metadata because they don't want you to be able to prove one way or the other. So there you have it. Those are some additional exhibits. I wonder if there will be an addendum to this to the motion to dismiss based on this. I know I'm highlighting a lot, but I feel like it. Anyway, I like to highlight. But based on this, based on Hank trying to submit this other video and say that this is just how it records. It's just messy like that. Yet the Chiron is different this time around. So tell me, explain that, Hank. I think he has some explaining to do. I think the Commonwealth as a whole has a whole lot of explaining to do, but this in particular, I think there needs some explaining. But Judge Canoni's not going to hold anybody accountable. So what am I talking about? We're just going to move on and go forward with trial 25 days from now, and that'll be that. Because Judge Canoni she just doesn't care. She is in it to protect herself and her buddies, I think. I think she's so far in it now that she can't get out. She's got to keep protecting the secrets, which they're not so secret because most of the world knows what they're doing. We see it. we're we're aware of it and we're watching and we're not going to stand for it. So I will leave you on that note. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Is Judge Canoni going to allow Mr. Bederow to practice in her courtroom? Is the defense going to file a supplemental or a addendum to their motion to dismiss? I think they should, based on this other Sallyport thing. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Take care. Bye now.